Join me as I take on the challenge of moving to America in search of a better life and share my journey along the way. Mr. James, a determined individual, left his home country in pursuit of a better life. Born and raised in a developing nation, he had always dreamed of securing a prosperous future, free from the shackles of economic hardship and limited opportunities. In his home country, Mr. James faced numerous challenges that hindered his growth and progress. The economy was struggling, and job opportunities were scarce. He struggled to make ends meet, working multiple jobs just to put food on the table. The lack of resources and infrastructure further exacerbated the issue, limiting his access to quality education and healthcare. Despite his best efforts, he felt stuck, unable to break free from the cycle of poverty. The scarcity of resources and opportunities led to a sense of desperation, prompting him to explore alternative options. The allure of a better life in America was too great to ignore, and he made the bold decision to leave his homeland in search of greener pastures. The economic struggles in Mr. James' home country were further complicated by the lack of job security and stability. The absence of a social safety net meant that he had to fend for himself, without any guarantees of a steady income or benefits. The constant pressure to provide for himself and his loved ones took a toll on his mental and physical health. The feeling of being trapped with no clear way out was suffocating. It was then that he realized he had to take drastic measures to change his circumstances. America, with its promise of opportunities and a better life, beckoned, and he answered the call. As Mr. James prepared to embark on his journey to America, he was filled with a mix of emotions. Excitement and anticipation warred with fear and uncertainty. He knew that leaving his homeland would mean starting from scratch, but he was determined to make a better life for himself. The unknown loomed large, but he was resolute in his pursuit of a brighter future. Chapter 1: A Dream from the Motherland. The journey begins. James was 29 when he decided to leave his home in West Africa in search of greener pastures. For him, greener pastures wasn't just a metaphor, it was a mission. He had spent years watching Hollywood movies about America, where the streets were paved with gold, or at least with opportunity. The idea of America shimmered in his mind like a mirage of possibility, a land where anything was possible, where hard work was rewarded, and dreams came true. James, the 29-year-old from West Africa, arrived in America on the 7th of September, 2010. With a suitcase filled with dreams, a head full of ambition, and a heart full of hope, James was ready to find the greener pastures he'd always heard about. Little did he know that these pastures would require not just a green thumb, but also an unwavering determination, a sense of humor, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. So on the 6th of September, 2010, James finally took the leap. Armed with a suitcase, a one-way ticket, and an insatiable thirst for adventure, he boarded a plane bound for the United States. He had said goodbye to his family, who were both proud and nervous. His mother had given him a tearful farewell, stuffing his pockets with homemade snacks. "You might not find good food over there," she warned, convinced that America was a land devoid of spicy jollof rice. When James landed in the bustling city of New York, the air was filled with promise. He had arrived, but he quickly realized that the streets were not paved with gold. They were, in fact, paved with something much more slippery: hustle. James in New York, he was greeted by the sound of honking cars, people bustling about, and an overwhelming sense of urgency. "Welcome to America," he thought as he took a deep breath. He was met by a family friend, Uncle Tundi, a man with a broad smile and a hearty laugh who had promised to help him settle down. Uncle Tundi's apartment in Brooklyn was tiny, but it was cozy. The air was filled with the smell of spices and a mix of different cultural scents that reminded James of home. He was grateful, but he quickly realized that the real work had just begun. For the first few months, James stayed with the earlier mentioned family friend. A wise choice, considering he had a grand total of $70.42 in his pocket. His new life in America began in a modest apartment where he discovered that his friend had a strange hobby: collecting mismatched socks. The sight of socks pinned to the walls like trophies was confusing at first, but James knew he had to stay focused on the bigger picture. Despite his peculiar living conditions, James remained undeterred. He picked up various odd jobs: pizza delivery, late-night janitorial shifts, and even a brief stint as a mall Santa, a gig that became legendary for his booming, thickly accented "ho ho ho." Slowly but surely, James started to understand that greener pastures sometimes came with weeds, and it was up to him to do the gardening. Chapter 2: The Art of Hustle and Adaptation. James was welcomed by a family friend, Uncle Tunde, who lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. Uncle Tunde was a generous man, always willing to lend a helping hand. He also happened to be the kind of person who kept his thermostat at 85 degrees, year-round. For James, who was used to the heat of West Africa, it was like living inside an oven. But he was grateful nonetheless. This was the start of his American dream. James quickly discovered that New York City was both a city of dreams and a city that could swallow you whole if you weren't careful. Jobs were scarce, and the cost of living was astronomical. He took on odd jobs to make ends meet, working as a dishwasher, a cab driver, and even a barista at a local coffee shop. It was during one of his coffee shop shifts that he learned a critical lesson. New Yorkers took their coffee very, very seriously. After accidentally serving a cappuccino instead of a latte to a very discerning customer, James was given a crash course in the difference between milk froth and steamed milk. "It all looks like foam to me," he would later joke. He also picked up shifts as a delivery man, bringing pizzas to the far corners of Brooklyn. One of his most memorable nights was when he mistakenly delivered a pizza to the wrong apartment. A little old lady opened the door, looked at the pizza, and then looked at James. "Young man, I ordered a vegan, gluten-free pizza, and this looks like cheese and pepperoni," she exclaimed. James, with his charming smile, replied, "Madam, maybe this is a sign you should try something new today." The old lady laughed, took the pizza, and tipped him extra. "That's how you do it, James Bond style," he thought. Despite the initial setbacks, James was undeterred. He spent his nights watching YouTube videos on American culture, brushing up on his slang and perfecting his smile. "Smile often," he would tell himself, "because if you can't be rich, at least be charming." However, James was faced with a big decision. Should he continue navigating this jungle of odd jobs, or should he take a leap into something different? One evening, while catching his breath after delivering his 14th pizza of the night, he saw a military recruitment ad on TV. The ad promised travel, education, and a sense of purpose. It was almost as if the ad was speaking directly to him, calling him to adventure like a Hollywood blockbuster. Chapter 3: The Military Path. From civilian to soldier, from civvies to camouflage, the military calling. After 3 years of grinding, James felt he needed a more stable and structured path to success. One day, he saw a military recruitment booth on the street corner with a poster that read, "Be all you can be." The idea intrigued him. Could I be James Bond? He thought, laughing to himself. But the more he considered it, the more it made sense. The military offered travel, education, and the chance to build a life he could be proud of. "James 007, reporting for duty," he joked to himself. And with that, he was thinking to enlist in the U.S. military. He knew it would be tough, but he also knew that no one ever became a hero without a few good stories to tell. So, with little more than determination in his heart and a few American idioms in his head, James knew that enlisting in the U.S. military will be a great idea. So James signed up with the U.S. military, knowing that boot camp was no joke. It was a place where sleep was a luxury, discipline was key, and there was always a drill sergeant shouting at him for reasons he couldn't always comprehend. The drill sergeant was a man of few words and even fewer expressions, who looked like he could bench press a tank. On day one, the sergeant yelled, "Why are you here, Private?" James replied with a grin, "To find greener pastures, sir." The sergeant, unimpressed, barked back, "Well, you're about to find out that these pastures need a lot of mowing." the next few months were intense. Basic training was grueling, and James often found himself wondering if he had made the right decision. But he pushed through, driven by his determination to succeed. One day, during a particularly tough drill, his drill sergeant barked, "James, you're moving like molasses! Speed up!" James, panting and sweating, replied with a grin, "Sir, molasses is sweet, and I'm just taking my time savoring the journey." The drill sergeant laughed, and from that day on, James was known as Molasses, a nickname he wore with pride. On another day, after mispronouncing sergeant as Sergeant T in his thick accent, he was given 100 push-ups. "You're going to learn to speak like an American, Private Molasses," the drill sergeant had barked. James took it all in stride, though. He was no stranger to hard work. He pushed himself beyond his limits, made friends from all walks of life, and found himself growing stronger, both physically and mentally. And when the time came, he was shipped overseas to Europe. For the next 3 years, Europe became his playground. Chapter 4. A Tour of Europe. James 007 Style of European Vacation. Military style. James' military assignment took him to Europe, and he quickly discovered that he was about to embark on the adventure of a lifetime. For the next 3 years, James traveled to over 15 countries, from the cobblestone streets of Germany to the sunny coasts of Spain, and even the famed canals of the Netherlands. He often joked that he was on an extended European vacation, but with a few more push-ups and a lot more camouflage. Europe was a revelation for James. He had never imagined he would see so much of the world in such a short period. From the moment he set foot on German soil, he was in awe of the cultural tapestry that lay before him. Over the next 3 years, he visited more than 15 countries, each more unique and beautiful than the last. Germany, Italy, Denmark, Spain, Czech Republic, Austria, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Great Britain were just the tip of the iceberg. In Germany, James learned to say Guten Morgen, good morning, with a smile, though his German vocabulary was limited to about 5 words. He was also introduced to bratwurst and beer gardens, which he enjoyed thoroughly. "In Germany, they drink beer like water," he wrote in a letter to his family. "Maybe I should bring some water back with me." In Italy, he learned to appreciate the art of la dolce vita, or the sweet life. He strolled through the ancient streets of Rome, sampled pasta in Tuscany, and even tried his hand at making pizza. It turned out to be a disaster. His dough refused to rise, and his tomato sauce tasted like watered-down ketchup. But the Italians were forgiving, and James learned that in life, sometimes the sauce doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be heartfelt. Denmark introduced James to the concept of hygge, a Danish term for coziness and comfort. He embraced the idea wholeheartedly, spending evenings wrapped in blankets, drinking hot cocoa, and reading books. "I could get used to this," he thought. "Maybe I'll bring some of this hygge back to America." In Spain, he was captivated by flamenco dancing. One evening, at a local dance hall in Seville, he decided to give it a try. His feet were clumsy, and his arms flailed, but he danced with passion. The locals cheered, and one elderly lady even offered him a flower. James kept the flower and pressed it into his journal. "A little piece of Spain," he wrote. Luxembourg was a different experience altogether. It was a tiny, wealthy country with a blend of French and German cultures. James loved its castles, rolling hills, and well-dressed bankers. He tried his hand at speaking French, but his bonjour sounded more like bonjour. Still, he made friends, shared stories, and learned that wealth wasn't just about money. It was about experiences. Every country taught him something new, added a story to his life, and broadened his horizons. He was grateful for the opportunity to travel, to see the world through different lenses, and to live out his own version of an adventure movie. While in Great Britain, James had his first encounter with proper English tea. He sat down, pinky raised, and tried to savor the moment, only to end up with tea stains on his uniform. "Note to self," he muttered. "Camouflage and tea parties don't mix." Despite his many misadventures, James took every opportunity to learn and grow. He soaked in the culture, made friends across borders, and honed his skills as a soldier. Each new experience added a layer of wisdom, a story to tell, and a lesson in resilience. Traveling around the world taught James something new. He learned to navigate language barriers with a smile, to embrace new foods, and to make friends wherever he went. He realized that people, no matter where they came from, had more in common than they had differences. It was a lesson in humanity, in humility, and in the power of connection. Chapter 5. Return to the Homeland, the New American Dream. After 3 years of military service in Europe, James returned to the United States. He returned home his beautiful wife, whom he had met during his military tour of Europe period. They decided to settle in Texas, where the weather reminded him a bit of home, and where opportunities seemed abundant. The two settled in Texas, where they decided to start a family. Texas welcomed James with open arms, hot weather, and BBQ that could only be described as a culinary masterpiece. James's next challenge is navigating civilian life again. He decided to go back to school, enrolling in a healthcare program. With a newfound appreciation for hard work, James hit the books harder than ever before. He was determined to build a future not just for himself, but for his growing family. While studying, James often joked with his classmates, "I'm going to own a hospital one day, or at least the snack bar in the hospital." His charisma and drive quickly made him a favorite among professors and peers alike. Texas was a new chapter, a fresh start. James felt ready to take on new challenges and to pursue his American dream with renewed vigor. James was older than most of his classmates, but he brought with him a wealth of life experience. He quickly became a standout student, known for his charisma, his work ethic, and his infectious laugh. Professors were impressed by his determination, and his classmates admired his ability to turn even the driest lectures into entertaining stories. One day, during a particularly dull lecture on healthcare policy, James raised his hand. "Excuse me, Professor," he said with a grin, "but isn't this just another way of saying we need to care for people and not just for profits?" The class erupted in laughter, and the professor nodded thoughtfully. "Well said, James." He quickly became known as the wise man among his classmates. He was older than most of them, but his life experiences gave him a unique perspective. One day, during a particularly dull lecture on anatomy, he raised his hand and asked, "Professor, is it true that laughter is the best medicine? Because this class could use a dose of it." The room erupted in laughter, and even the professor had to admit, "You might be onto something, James." Chapter 6. The MBA Journey and the Business Dream. After earning his healthcare degree, James realized he wanted more. He didn't just want to work in healthcare, he wanted to own it. He wanted to create something meaningful, something that would help people while also providing for his family. So, he enrolled in an MBA program. James realized that he wanted to take his dreams even further, and enrolling in an MBA program will help him gain the knowledge and skills needed to start his own businesses. Why stop at one? He thought. Let's aim for 3. Balancing a family, a degree, and his ambitious goals wasn't easy. There were late nights, early mornings, and a few too many cups of coffee. But James kept pushing forward, drawing inspiration from his time in the military and his early days of struggle. He knew that success wasn't just about finding greener pastures, but about cultivating them with care. The MBA program was challenging, but James loved it. He thrived on the fast-paced environment, the late-night study sessions, and the constant push to think outside the box. He learned about finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, and leadership. He met people from all over the world, each with their own dreams and aspirations. And he realized that he wasn't alone in his pursuit of greener pastures. During his MBA, James came up with the idea for his first business, a healthcare consultancy that would help small clinics streamline their operations and improve patient care. He poured his heart and soul into the venture, and within a year, it was up and running. His second business, a financial educational media centers, followed soon after. And his third business, a real estate investment firm, was born out of his desire to diversify his portfolio and build a legacy for his family. James was now living the American dream. He had a lovely wife, 2 beautiful daughters, a dog named Rufus, multiple houses, lands, cars, and 3 thriving businesses. But he knew that the journey was far from over. Chapter 7: Watering the Greener Pastures. James understood that finding greener pastures was just the beginning. It's one thing to find a green field, he often said, but it's another thing to keep it green. He knew that maintaining success required continuous learning, hard work, and a willingness to adapt. He continued to improve his skills, attending seminars, reading books, and networking with other successful entrepreneurs. He also invested in personal development, taking courses on leadership, communication, and financial management. He was always looking for ways to grow, to be better, and to inspire those around him. James became a mentor to young entrepreneurs, sharing his story and offering guidance. He taught them the importance of resilience, the value of hard work, and the power of a positive mindset. You have to believe in yourself, he would tell them, because if you don't, no one else will. He also started a blog where he wrote about his experiences, his failures, and his successes. He shared tips on wealth creation, personal growth, and navigating the challenges of life in a new country. His blog quickly gained a following, and James became a sought-after speaker at conferences and events. Now in his 40s, James is living the life he once dreamed of. He has a lovely wife, 2 beautiful daughters, a dog named Rufus, several houses, lands, cars, and, true to his ambition, 3 thriving businesses. Each business is a testament to his hard work, resilience, and ability to turn dreams into reality. James knows that his journey is far from over. He continues to learn, improve, and find new ways to grow his wealth. He's also passionate about helping others find their own greener pastures, sharing his knowledge, and inspiring those around him to dream big and work even bigger. Chapter 8: Inspiring the Next Generation. James knew that his journey was not just about his own success. It was about helping others find their own path, their own greener pastures. He wanted to inspire the next generation to dream big, to work hard, and to never give up. He often spoke at schools, community centers, and churches, sharing his story and encouraging others to pursue their dreams. He believed that everyone had the potential to achieve greatness, no matter where they came from or what obstacles they faced. James also started a scholarship fund for underprivileged students, helping them pursue higher education and reach their full potential. Education is the key, he would say, but passion is the lock. James believes that finding greener pastures is just the first step. Anyone can find a green patch, he often says, but it takes dedication to keep it from turning brown. He started conducting workshops and seminars where he shares his personal journey, from West Africa to Europe, from the military to MBA classrooms, and from struggling immigrant to successful entrepreneur. His talks are filled with humor, wisdom, and practical advice. James teaches others how to leverage their skills, take calculated risks, and always be on the lookout for opportunities. He emphasizes that it's not just about finding wealth, but also about nurturing it, protecting it, and helping it grow. Chapter 9: The Ongoing Adventure. Now in his 40s, James is still living the adventure. He knows that life is full of surprises, twists, and turns, and he embraces each new challenge with enthusiasm and optimism. He continues to grow his businesses, to learn, to teach, and to inspire. He often says, "I'm not done yet, I've only just begun." And with his charming smile, his infectious laughter, and his indomitable spirit, it's clear that James is not just living the American dream, he's redefining it, one day at a time. Epilogue: The Legend of James. 07 James may not have a license to kill, but he does have a license to inspire. His story is one of courage, determination, and a relentless pursuit of greener pastures. It's a story of a young man from West Africa who dared to dream, who faced challenges head-on, and who turned every obstacle into an opportunity. As he looks back on his journey, James knows that he's come a long way. But he also knows that the best is yet to come. He continues to water his greener pastures, to grow his wealth, and to teach others to do the same. And with every step, he proves that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Because in the end, it's not about the pastures, it's about the gardener. And James 007 is one gardener who knows how to make anything grow. James knows that his story is still unfolding. He continues to set new goals, explore new ventures, and find new ways to make a positive impact. Every day is another chapter in his own personal 007 saga, one where the hero doesn't just live for himself, but also for the benefit of others. He loves to say, "I may not have a license to kill, but I do have a license to thrill by making my life and the lives of others as rich and fulfilling as possible." And so, James continues to water his greener pastures, teaching others to find their own, and showing that with the right mindset, determination, and a dash of humor, anyone can live their own version of the American dream. As James reflects on his journey, he realizes that the struggles he faced were an essential part of his growth and development. The lessons he learned, the resilience he developed, and the opportunities he seized have made him a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individual. His story serves as a testament to the power of perseverance, hope, and determination in the face of adversity. James's inspiring journey is a reminder that the American dream is alive and well, and that with hard work, determination, and a willingness to take risks, anyone can achieve their goals and create a better life for themselves. If you, too, have an inspiring story of overcoming adversity, share it with us in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our next video, where we'll be sharing another incredible immigrant journey. Thanks for watching.